Welcome to Gray Overload. I'm Anthony, and Intel has announced Arc, their graphics lineup. Intel's new branding is for their graphics lineup is called Arc, A-R-C, not to be confused with Arc, A-R-K, which you go to see all the Intel specs of the processors, etc. that they release. I don't know what Intel is thinking, but I guess we could get behind Arc if it's competitive pricely and performance-wise. I think they should have came up with a different name, but we'll go with it. I think they had some other names working a little bit better, and they decided to go down this route. But to dive into this a little bit more, I'm not going to go into too much of specs or anything else. And we don't know how this is going to compete yet, but I'm going to say some things that I'm hoping for, and maybe even what I think Intel should do here. I really kind of hope that Intel comes in with a pretty good price point. Now, if the market is still like it is today, when they release these, what was it going to be? Q1 of 2022. So we're still, well, just over, well, about 6 months away, roughly, maybe even longer. Um, that could be a thing in the same market where Intel says, well, I'm going to capitalize on what everyone else has been capitalizing too with Intel and AMD. I mean, with Nvidia and AMD capitalizing on their graphics market, Intel is going to just join in the fray and say, yes, of course I'm going to jack up the prices and be able to just make money hand over fist, right? And with the hopes that, maybe the market isn't like this and there's a little bit of a preve so gamers and everybody else that wants a graphics card can actually go buy one. And I think that if that were to happen, Intel could come in at a pretty good price point and make either AMD or Nvidia have to drop their prices, or yeah, and this is if the cards are competitive, but then also put them in a situation where they could actually gain market share. So it's going to be interesting to see how Intel positions this and how Intel is going to really attack the markets, considering that they are entering this market of discrete GPUs, for gamers, as well as competing in kind of, not their stronghold, right? They used to have a stronghold on integrated graphics. They still do, right? They have every single processor, pretty much every processor that they sell has an integrated graphics, mobile and mainstream desktop. So Intel can leverage that, and hopefully with leveraging that, we'll see some of their, full integrated designs and see how they compete. And I'm I am genuinely excited about this launch. I want to see where they line up for anything at the moment is that it's going to help with competition, kind of alleviate things. Well, I hope, right? I maybe they're great at mining and everything else everybody wants to use them for, and they won't be in gamers' hands anyways, right? That could easily happen. I'm hoping it doesn't. I'm hoping that by that time, supply and everything has cleared up. And I believe AMD and Nvidia, I do want to say this, are looking very closely at their supply chains to make sure that Intel does not get a leg off the ground. So they're going to want to have stock so that they can crush Intel when Intel comes out with this, right? One thing that they don't want to do is have Intel to circuit to some momentum, especially Nvidia. I'm thinking about a lot of Nvidia here. Nvidia wants to make sure that there is no momentum, right? Um, Especially, let's say the ARM purchase were to not go through, and I don't know where that sits. Maybe I'll do a video on that and a little of what I think is going to actually happen with ARM. But if that were to not go through, and Nvidia's really got to push hard on the graphics and not let Intel get momentum at all. Because let's say Intel is able to get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of their products sold, and they start selling out, it's going to create something where Nvidia is, they may even move some stuff up or try to as much as possible to kind of crush that and make sure that Intel does not get that momentum. As much as Nvidia likes to play games with AMD, I believe they're going to play even more games with Intel. Um, and they're playing games with AMD was only to prep them to make sure that they can execute properly against Intel. And that's kind of how I'm thinking about this is that, you know, while Intel, this may be a good product, this may be whatever else, what games are Nvidia going to play to kind of squash anything Intel comes out with? So Intel's going to have a marketing push too that is going to be quite strong to go up NVIDIA, right? Intel, in their own right, has had some strong marketing pushes based on the financial side and the backside. However, right now with what NVIDIA is raking in, even AMD, um, and what NVIDIA has done, I would say even behind the scenes is even more strong arming than what Intel has ever done. Um, Even on some of their CPU sides, the lack of AMD. So it's going to be a fun little time to watch. Now I'm sure Intel has some things up their sleeve financially on the backside to companies building PCs as well to make sure that they can lock out NVIDIA as much as possible and AMD. But it's going to be interesting, right? If Intel can't come up with a better product, what does that leave them with, right? Manufacturers, you can put out Intel's product as much as possible when it's competitive, right? And squash out everybody else. That makes sense to a manufacturer. You start going through and showing that everyone's product is way better, and now Intel's in a kind of like a pickle. They're not able to just say, "Hey, I just go buy that product." So it's going to be really fun to watch how this is kind of all going to go out, especially once they start releasing these for desktop, their DG2 in Q1 of 2022, as long as it's not delayed, right? Intel's not been the reliability of making sure things are out on time lately. So I could see these slip a little bit, but let's talk a little bit about performance. I really hope that we get something in the 3070 range, at least to start out with, for their at least their high end. I don't know if they're going to be able to hit 3080 or like 6800 XT range in there, and the 6900 or the XT or the 3090. I don't think that they're going to be able to hit that, but I do think that they have an opportunity to hit the 3070 range, the 6700, 6800, maybe someplace in there. And I hope they do, because that would provide opportunity. I believe if they get only in like the 3060 and the 6600 range, someplace in there, they may not have very much to stand on, and they better be hoping for the next revision to try to kind of get up into a better product. Now, the only thing that they could do that is if they had supply and they just knock it out of the product with price, right? Then everyone's going to jump to that at the low end. But I like to see something mid-range kind of come in so that you get that mix of, hey, we got three choices kind of pick from, and kind of alleviate that strain in that mid-range as well. So that's where I hope performance is, but I'm I haven't looked too much at performance because I'm trying to stay away from that, because there can be a lot of talk about performance, and then when it comes out, we don't know where it's going to sit, especially on a new product, and especially Intel's track record right now. I really need to see them own up to it. Their marketing is just so bad right now, and just trying to, just say anything to sell a product, which doesn't bode well for them, when I'm taking a look at them. So Intel needs to clean up their marketing. Hopefully they can do that here and, get working on a better footing. I mean, they did hire some people from what used to be in like the tech press and reviewers and stuff. So you think that they'd be able to get this together, but it's getting worse for some reason over time, not any better. So maybe they should listen to somebody else, or kind of start changing over some of the marketing team just to get there. But I really, really actually hope that this does compete with at least the mid-range from NVIDIA and AMD, because it'd be really, really awesome to get that, push to get more products in and to get more competition so that we can have a better choice and hopefully better price points. But I do think that NVIDIA and AMD are going to they are more concerned, at making sure that they're getting everything right this year, and they have the opportunity to get things right, get supply chains right, get everything kind of, with what they can with manufacturing side and all these other limitations, to be ready for Intel when they launch their product. And that's going to be an uphill battle for Intel as well, because later in that year, in 2022, NVIDIA and AMD are going to be releasing similar, products as well to really wipe the floor with DG2 or this Intel Arc. And so Intel's got to be ready for that next generation as well. Hopefully they're working hard. I know that they got a roadmap here, but they gotta stick to it and work hard at it, because as we've seen with Nvidia makes sure that its competition it's itself, and it does not like anybody else trying to compete with it. So with that, let me know what your thoughts are on the Intel Arc in the comments below. I'm excited to see what comes of this, and hopefully it's going to benefit us, because if we can get cheaper prices and more performance and be able to have an option of something in stock, that's always a benefit. So with that, thank you for watching. Thank you for taking time to help support Gray Overload and helping this channel grow. I really appreciate it. Until next time, God bless, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.